Hi everyone, in this lesson we're going to look at how we multiply numbers that are in standard form. So let's look at our first example. Calculate the following. Leave your answer in standard form. 2 multiplied by 10 to the power of 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 10 to the power of 5. So that number is in standard form and so is that. The way to do this question is to use the fact that we can change the order in which we multiply these numbers together. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to multiply my coefficients together. So I'll do 2 multiplied by 3. And then I'll multiply by 10 to the power of 4 multiplied by 10 to the power of 5, like this. And of course I can do that because if we think of something like this, 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 5, well, that's the same as doing 5 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3. In other words, we can change the order in which we multiply the numbers together. So go ahead and do 2 multiplied by 3 to give us 6. And then we need to do 10 to the power of 4 multiplied by 10 to the power of 5. When we have powers that have the same base, and by that I mean the number 10, and we're multiplying them together, we simply add our indices together. So we do 4 add 5 to give us 9. So this answer is 6 multiplied by 10 to the power of 9. Then you want to check if it's in standard form, and the way to do that is to look at this coefficient. If it is less than 10, then that's okay. It also needs to be greater than or equal to 1. And in this case, it's 6, so that's fine. My answer is in standard form. Pause the video and give this question a go. So 4 multiplied by 10 to the power of 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 10 to the power of 9. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. Let's start by multiplying our coefficients together. So 4 multiplied by 2. And then multiply our powers of 10 together. So 10 to the power of 2. And multiply that by 10 to the power of 9. 4 multiplied by 2 gives us 8. That number is less than 10, so I know I don't have to do anything to that to make it into standard form. And then I'm going to go ahead and collect my powers of 10 together by adding 2 and 9 together to give me 11. That number is in standard form. Okay, our next example is a little bit different, and we'll see why in a second. So I've got 5 multiplied by 10 to the power of 6, and then I'm multiplying that by 4 multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 2. Same as before, I'm going to multiply my coefficients together, 5 multiplied by 4, and then I'm going to multiply that by my powers of 10 multiplied together. So 10 to the power of 6 multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 2. 5 multiplied by 4 gives me 20, and then I collect together my indices, so I do 6 add negative 2 to give me an answer of 4. Now, here's where I would go wrong if I left it as it is, because this number is not in standard form. This number is greater than 10. So like we've seen in the previous lesson, we need to adjust this to be in standard form. I'm going to write 20 as 2 multiplied by 10 to the power of 1 multiplied by 10 to the power of 4. All I've done there is I've taken my 20 and I've turned it into standard form. Then collect together your powers of 10. So add your indices on the 10 to the power of 1 and the 10 to the power of 4 to give you 10 to the power of 5. So that is my answer. Give this question a go and then we'll look at the solution. So go ahead and multiply your coefficients together. So 2 multiplied by 8. And then go ahead and multiply your powers of 10 together. So 10 to the power of 5. And multiply that by 10 to the power of 6. 2 multiplied by 8 gives me 16. I'm going to have to change that in a second. And then I add my indices together here to get 10 to the power of 11. The 16 I'm going to write as 1.6 multiplied by 10 to the power of 1. So I've just changed that into this. Multiply that by 10 to the power of 11, and then collect your powers of 10 together. 1 and 11 gives me an answer of 12. So 1.6 multiplied by 10 to the power of 12. Okay, our next example, calculate the following, leave your answer in standard form. 4,000 multiplied by 2 times 10 to the power of 6. We've got one number in standard form, the other number is not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that number into standard form. So 4,000 is 4 multiplied by 1,000. So that's equal to this. And then I need to multiply by 10 to the power of 6. And then I turn my 1,000 into a power of 10, so that's 10 to the power of 3. All I've done there is I've turned 4,000 into standard form. Then I multiply it by 2, multiplied by 10 to the power of 6. So at this point, I'm picking up from where I had in the previous few examples. Multiply your coefficients. So 4 multiplied by 2, multiply your power of 10s. At this stage in the lesson, you've got the hang of it, then I would skip this step and go straight to what we're going to have here, which is 8 multiplied by 10 to the power of 9. Just check if that's in standard form. In this case it is, because the 8 is less than 10, so we're good to go. Give this one a go and then we'll run through it together. So 1 multiplied by 10 to the power of 9 multiplied by 0.05. Let's leave this number as it is in standard form. And let's go ahead and turn this number into standard form. My coefficient is 5, and it would be 5 multiplied by 0.001. I then want to turn this number into standard form, so I'll just quickly rewrite this part. And the 0.001 I can write as 5 multiplied by 10 to the power of -3. I just counted how many zeros I had there, and that's what gave me this. That should be using my equal signs. Then go ahead and multiply your coefficients together. So that's going to give you 5. And then go ahead and multiply your powers of 10 together. Do 9 add -3, which gives you a +6. So my answer is 5 multiplied by 10 to the power of 6. A slightly harder example. In this one, both numbers are not in standard form to begin with. Let's go ahead and turn them into standard form. So we've got 80,000 multiplied by 10 to the power of 3. And we're multiplying that by 0.02 multiplied by 10 to the power of -4. 80,000 is 8 multiplied by 10 to the power of 4. And then I'm multiplying that by 10 to the power of 3. So I've turned 80,000 into standard form. Let's go ahead and turn 0.02 into standard form. Well, that would be 2 multiplied by 10 to the power of -2. And then I need to multiply by 10 to the power of -4. Collect your powers of 10 together in this first bracket. So 10 to the +4 multiplied by 10 to the +3 is 10 to the +7. And then in the second bracket, collect your powers of 10 together. So I've got -2 add -4 to give me -6. Now we can go ahead and multiply our coefficients together. So 8 multiplied by 2 gives me 16. And then do 10 to the power of 7 multiplied by 10 to the -6. Add your coefficients. So that's what you're doing effectively, which gives you an answer of 1. So it's 10 to the power of 1. Then check if it's in standard form. It is not, because the 16 is above 10. So turn that into standard form. Turn the 16 into standard form, I mean. That's 1.6 multiplied by 10 to the power of 1 multiplied by 10 to the power of 1. Collect the powers of 10 together to give you 1.6 multiplied by 10 to the power of 2, which if we had to write it as an ordinary number, well, 10 to the power of 2 is 100. 1.6 multiplied by 100 is 160. So that's an ordinary number. That's standard form. Give this one a go, and then we'll run through the solution. We've got 0.3 multiplied by 10 to the -3 multiplied by 900 times 10 to the power of 5. So let's go ahead and turn this 0.3 into standard form. So it's 3 multiplied by 10 to the -1 multiplied by 10 to the -3. Pop that in a bracket just to keep track of it. Bracket's not necessary, but it just helps us to see what we're doing. The 900 is 9 multiplied by 10 to the power of 2. Then I'm multiplying that by 10 to the power of 5. Go ahead and collect together everything in the bracket that we can. So I'm going to collect together those 10s. 10 to the -1 multiplied by 10 to the -3 is 10 to the -4. And then do the same thing in the other bracket. So 10 to the power of 2 multiplied by 10 to the power of 5 is 10 to the power of 7. Multiply your coefficients together. 3 multiplied by 9 gives me 27. 10 to the power of -4 multiplied by 10 to the power of 7 gives me 10 to the power of 3. Then turn that 27 into standard form. So it's 2.7 multiplied by 10 to the power of 1 multiplied by 10 to the power of 3. And that gives us a final answer of 2.7 multiplied by 10 to the power of 4. Okay, let's look at an example like this. Calculate the following, leave your answer in standard form. 3 multiplied by 10 to the power of 3, and all of that, that's why it's in brackets, is being squared. I'm going to show you two different ways you can do this. The first way is to understand that if I'm squaring 3 multiplied by 10 to the power of 3, it means I'm doing 3 multiplied by 10 to the power of 3, and I'm just multiplying it by itself, like this. Then we could treat that like we normally would, multiply our coefficients together to give us 9, multiply our powers of 10 together to give us 10 to the power of 6. That's one way to do it. The other way, which will be useful for us in other questions, is to apply this power of 2 to both the 3 and to the 10 to the power of 3. And what I mean by that is this. I can write 3 multiplied by 10 to the power of 3 all squared, and just apply that power of 2 to the 3. So it would be 3 squared. And then also apply that power of 2 to the 10 to the power of 3. 10 to the power of 3 all to the power of 2, like this. The 3 squared goes to 9, and then remember when we've got a power upon a power, we multiply our indices together, so it's 10 to the power of 6. I get the same answer. The reason this second way might be quite helpful is if we have higher powers. So, if we had something like 3 multiplied by 10 to the power of 3 to the power of 3, I'd want to apply my power to both of the numbers and do it that way. Pause the video and give this question a go, whichever way you want. Okay, let's go ahead and apply the power of 2 to both the 2. So it would be 2 to the power of 2. And apply the power of 2 to the 10 to the negative 5, like this. 2 multiplied by 2 is what 2 squared means, so that's 4. And then multiply your indices together because it's a power upon a power. That gives you 10 to the power of negative 10. And that's in standard form, so that's your answer. So our next type of example involves a number inside the bracket, which is not in standard form. And then we're also applying a higher power than 2. Let's go ahead and have a look at how we do this. We've got 3,000 multiplied by 10 to the power of 7, and we're raising all of that to the power of 3. The way I would do this is I would turn what's inside the bracket into standard form to start with. So 3,000 I'm going to write as 3 multiplied by 1,000. And I'm multiplying that by 10 to the power of 7. And I'm raising all of that to the power of 3. If you can go straight to standard form for 3,000, that's great. This is the line you would have if you did that. 3 multiplied by 10 to the power of 3 multiplied by 10 to the power of 7, all cubed. Then collect together your powers of 10 to give you 3 multiplied by 10 to the power of 10. Just added 3 and 7 together, and I'm raising that to the power of 3. Now, what I need to know is that 3 multiplied by 10 to the power of 10 cubed is equal to 3 multiplied by 10 to the power of 10 multiplied by itself 3 times like this. Like that, okay? In this case, the way I would do it is I would apply this power of 3 to both the 3 and to the 10 to the power of 10. So I'm going to raise 3 to the power of 3, and then I'm going to take my 10 to the power of 10, and I'll raise that to an index or a power of 3 like this. 3 cubed is 27, and 10 to the power of 10 cubed, I multiply my indices together. That gives me an answer of 10 to the power of 30, so a very big number. This is not in standard form because the 27 is above 10. So I've run out of room, I'll come over here. I'm going to write this as being equal to 2.7 multiplied by 10 to the power of 1. So I've just changed my 27 into standard form. And multiply that by 10 to the power of 30. Then I just collect these together. So add 1 and 30 together to give me 2.7 multiplied by 10 to the power of 31. And that's my answer. Pause the video and give this question a go. So we've got 0.005 multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 3, and we're squaring all of that. Let's go ahead and deal with what's inside our bracket and turn it into standard form. The 0.005 I'm going to write as 5 multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 3. So all I've done is I've changed that bit. I'm still multiplying that by 10 to the power of negative 3, and I'm raising all of that to the power of 2. Go ahead and deal with these powers of 10 by adding your indices together. That gives you 5 multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 6, and we're squaring that. Apply your power of 2 to the 5 to give you 5 squared, and apply your power of 2 to 10 to the power of negative 6, like this. 5 squared is 25, and 10 to the power of negative 6 squared, multiply your indices together, give you 10 to the power of negative 12. Then deal with your 25, turn it into standard form. Because it's greater than 10, it is not. So we'll say that is 2.5 multiplied by 10 to the power of 1. That's what that is. Multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 12. Then collect together your powers of 10. So we're doing 1 add negative 12, which takes you to negative 11. My final answer is 2.5 multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 11. A very small number. If you're using our lesson booklets, you can now complete exercises 1 to 4. Thank you for watching the video.